All right, back to reading about self-reliance. All right, Blasphemous says, "You're the one that brought up eating poo." Yeah, I did, didn't I? Somehow, when I brought it up, and when I said it, I didn't imagine it myself. But your example, I don't know why, it just flashed in my head and I started imagining it. And then I started feeling gross. That's weird. I wonder what's different with those two different examples. Maybe yours were more vivid. I don't know. It is some gross shit anyway. And well, I would find it gross. Not for me. Not for me, indeed. Alright. It is for want of self-culture that the superstition of traveling, whose idols are Italy, England, Egypt, retains its fascination for all educated Americans. I don't understand. Alright, what is saying here? Blasphemous says, maybe it was the prostitutes? Maybe it was. I think it... Yeah, it's more real and it's like, oh, actually, I'm just gonna say, let's stop talking about that. Yeah, that's just gonna make me feel more nauseous. So let's move on. Let's talk about this, self-reliance. Alright, they who made England, Italy or Greece venerable in the imagination did so by sticking fast where they were. Like an axis of the earth. In many hours, we feel that that dusty is our place. I don't know. Blasphemous says normal poo would have been fine, but not from a prostitute. No, that's not what I was imagining. But I'm leaving that behind. Yeah, I'm leaving that behind. Not gonna engage more. All right. The soul is no traveler. The wise man stays at home, and when his necessities, his duties, on any occasion call him from his house or into foreign lands, he is at home still, and shall make men sensible by the expression of his countenance, that he goes the missionary or wisdom and virtue, and visits cities and men like a sovereign, and not like an interloper or a valet. Is the metaphor here he's saying that home is where your feet are? Is that what he's saying? Or is he saying that just traveling is a waste of time and just stupid people travels? That seems like a straw man interpretation of this, right? Because traveling is great, and I would encourage a lot of people to do it. See different cultures, right? Know what is out there. Just see it. I don't think that's stupid at all. I have no churlish objection to the circumnavigation of the globe for the purposes of art, of study, and benevolence, so that the man is first domesticated, or does not go abroad with the hope of finding somewhat greater than he knows. He who travels to be amused, or to get somewhat which he does not carry, travels away from himself, and grows old even in youth among old things. In Thebes, in Palmyra, his will and mind have become old and dilapidated as they. He carries ruins to ruins. Yeah, again with the black and white, right? Cannot learn anything from anyone else, eh? No one can know anything that you don't already know. I think that's right. In some senses, right? In some senses, sure, right? In one point of view, if you look at only like the stuff that you can learn from introspection, actually, looking outside of yourself and then introspect, right? You can learn more about yourself by looking at others, right? Different cultures do different things, and then you might look into yourself. Oh, right. That thing I took for granted, maybe that thing doesn't have to be taken for granted. Traveling is a fool's paradise. Our first journeys discover to us the indifference of places. At home, I dream that at Naples, at Rome, I can be intoxicated with beauty and lose my sadness. Well, that's a different thing, though, right? If you dream like this, isn't that like talking introspectively, right? If you notice yourself just wanting to get the fuck out, isn't that a reason to get the fuck out? Then that's not maybe traveling, that's maybe moving. That is the thing that one should do, right? Instead of traveling, just get the fuck out. I don't know. I pack my trunk, embrace my friends, embark on the sea, and at last wake up in Naples, and there beside me is the stern fact, the sad self, unrelenting identical that I fled from. Not if your friends were the ones you're fleeing from, for example, right? Maybe, I mean, one city is different from another city, right? They have different cultures and different stuff. Maybe you do want to get out. I don't know. Blasphemous says that Martin Butler was talking about something similar. Happy people don't need to constantly chase happiness. Oh. I mean, that's a good point, I suppose. Yeah, that makes sense, but, right? And then I would disagree that someone who's unhappy is not a fool. That is, it's just someone who's unhappy, right? And it makes sense for someone unhappy to chase happiness. Or I would argue chase content, being content, contentness? What is that? Is that what it's called? Contentness? I don't know. I would argue for chasing that instead of chasing happiness. Because chasing happiness seems like it sounds exhausting. But that's my personal perspective, right? That's for myself. Others might enjoy chasing happiness. Yeah, of course. If you are content, then there is no reason. Oh, right. That's... I guess people who are that are more... Fuck, I forgot that word. They don't want things to change. Of course, people who are just happy and content and whatever, they have no reason to change anything. Right? They would want everything to stay the same. Status quo they would want to try to keep. Well, people who don't feel happy, they do want to change stuff. And I think, yeah, improving stuff for those people is a worthwhile effort. They are not fools. They just want to find happiness. Mandatory happiness? Mandatory? I don't like that word. That sounds gross. That sounds... Oh, man. Oh, that sounds really gross, right? You have to always put on a happy face, right? Because that is not real, right, man? Oh, yes, Psychopaths. I kind of felt like Psychopaths, yeah. Mandatory happiness. I don't remember. I don't think I've seen all of it, but I've seen Psychopaths a long time ago. Oh, it's a game? I thought it was an anime. Alright, but it's both a visual novel, I suppose. Yeah, mandatory happiness. That's... Because what's the only way to know if a person is happy? That is if they say that they are happy. And being happy all the time, that doesn't sound like... It doesn't sound very healthy to me. Yeah. Right. Life goes up and down, right? And take the bad with the good. I think it's more healthy. And I think people just pretending to be happy all the time, I think, yeah, that is where we would end up. People pretending to be happy. Another says, fun fact, I got banned in Bloons TD6. Wait, how did you get banned? What did you do? Or what didn't you do? Why? Good job? I don't know. The Vatican and the palaces I seek, but I am not intoxicated through the affect to be intoxicated with sights and suggestions. My giant goes with me wherever I go. I mean, yeah, if you're trying to escape from yourself, then, I mean, wherever you go, there you are, so that... Fleeing from yourself, you don't do that by traveling. Well, you can take a trip. Yeah, you can take a trip and flee from yourself, I suppose. That is one way to do it. And I suppose if you're fleeing from yourself as well, right, you can put yourself in a different environment. Because if you're in a different environment, you will act differently and you will be different. So actually, I wouldn't even say that it is a fool's errand. It might actually even be a good idea to just... Right, if you're in a rut and unhappy with where you are, that might be something that works for someone. Just leave and do something completely different for a while. Because it might help you gain a different perspective on yourself. Nodon says, I don't know, I haven't cheated, I've just been playing normally. Wait, just like that? You got banned and you didn't get a reason why? You just got banned? And they didn't tell you why? Wait, didn't you buy that game? Wasn't it? I'm pretty sure it was not a free-to-play game, right? Blasphemous. So if people on social media pretended they were happy all the time and the world went to complete shit, would most people be aware of how shit things have become? I mean, it depends, right? Where do you get your news? Would most people get all their news from social media and social media would not report any of the complete shit? Then sure, it depends on the filter bubble you are in, right? It depends on your filter bubble. If your filter bubble shows that everything is grand, then you probably believe that everything is grand. Supposing, right? And that kind of implies that you, as the example person here, also think that your world has not gone to shit, right? Because if your world has gone to shit, then social media won't change that, right? Blasphemous asks banned for playing on Linux via Proton. Northern says maybe. If you want to try it, you could let me know if you get banned. It is a paid game. It's weird. I find it weird, right? It's a paid game, and like any banning, why don't you get... Like, it just has to be a short message, like an email or whatever. You just say, you got banned because of X reason. There's probably a way to say, wait, why the fuck did you ban me? There is no reason to ban me. Maybe? Blasphemous says, is the news a reliable source of just how shit things are? Alright, Blasphemous. Thinking stuff are shit... That's a subjective value judgment, right? If you are in a filter bubble where you just see everything being shit, then you believe that the world is shit. If you're in a filter bubble where everything looks grand, you don't think that everything is shit, right? None of the sources are reliable, right? Well, I would say a news channel is, well, maybe not in your country, but in my country, the news are more reliable on just some random dude, some random filter bubble on social media. Right, that's the news I know. It's not super reliable, but it's more reliable than social media, that's definite. Your news might not be, and that's... I mean, that's shit. Isn't it? That is shit. But, yeah, I don't know. But, yeah. My news, definitely. Well, actually, let's put it this way. My news are not more reliable. I find my news more reliable than I find my social media. Other people probably find their news in Sweden more unreliable than their social media, right? That's the reliability of the thing. That's a value judgment as well, isn't it? How reliable someone is. Do I trust this or not? Yeah, that's for everyone for themselves to decide, I suppose, yeah? Let's see. Notrunner says, being banned on Bloons TD6 is more like a shadow ban rather than a hard ban. Wait, what's a shadow ban and a hard ban? I don't know the difference. It is hard to tell if you've actually been banned unless you know what to look for. In this case, it is 2 little leaves next to the gears buttons. That's the only way you know. Wait. And now you can't play online normally. It will always group you with cheaters. Oh! You can't do races and submit your times. You can't create a game and make it public for other people to join. That's kind of rude, isn't it? It also makes sense to do it that way. Try and trick people? Yeah. Blasphemous says, I wish I knew your language so I could evaluate your news. Blasphemous says, you don't use social media though, Kappa. I mean, I have used social media in the past. And I know how social media works, right? And I suppose a lot, like, you can probably follow news channels on social media, right? So the lines become fluid. My thinking was social media, right? Your example was, what was it, like, specifically? So if people on social media pretend that they are all happy all the time, right? We were talking about people, not news channels on social media. Part of me was kind of, this imaginary idea was social media was not for companies or organizations. It was just people talking to other people. That imaginary social media I took in my head. Yeah. Notrunner says a shadow ban is when you're banned, but they don't tell you you're banned. I mean, that kind of makes sense from their point of view, because they can still make a shadow ban a whale, for example. They would still want to take your money, and if you're banned and believe that you're not playing with, like, if you're cheating and playing with other cheaters, right? They don't want to get rid of a cheater because a cheater is a potential income as well, right? The cheater might pay for stuff. So just telling them straight out that they're banned, that would be lost opportunity for profit. Gross. Another one says, like, a shadow ban on social media might still allow you to post, but it doesn't show up for anyone but you. Oh, wow. That is so rude. I can see from the social media point of view, right, that it makes sense from their point of view. That's why I want to change those rules, right? Freedom of speech, not for the platform, the social media, but freedom of speech for the individuals that goes onto social media. I think that would be an improvement on all those sites, where the individual posting the thing is the one who is considered the, what's that called? The publisher, yeah. That you are considered the publisher of your words in social media instead of, like, Facebook being the publisher of your words in a social media. I think that would be an improvement, yeah. Lastman says, in America, our news trolls people by admitting most people cannot spot fake news. Spot fake news? That, in my mind, that's not how it works. You cannot spot fake news by just looking at a news thing, right? They are saying X. Right? How do you know that X is fake news? By just watching them? That's... You would have to make an assumption, right? You would have to make an assumption that this is fake news without having any, right? The only way to know if some news were fake news or not fake news would be exploring whatever was presented, right? You cannot know it from just looking at the thing. How does that work? No, says that happens on Reddit. Oh, people are shadow banned. They're unable to do anything and don't know it. Every time they contribute, it just gets lost in a void. Yeah, that is very fucked up. I don't like that at all. Lastman says, but if they allowed free speech, how would they control the filter bubble? I mean, they wouldn't. Isn't, like... It's kind of rude if they're, like... Yeah, I mean, I suppose they are trying to control the filter bubbles somewhat, and I don't like that. I mean, filter bubbles is a big fucking problem, and I would say politically or socially, right, in society, I think it would be a benefit for society to try to mitigate the filter bubbling, not trying to, right? Not trying to control it, whatever, just try to mitigate. One way to mitigate would be free speech, right? And more control in the hands of the user, right? Instead of having algorithms decide what you get to see and what not to see, like... Of course, like, I see the value with algorithms, but there's, like... You shouldn't get stuck into the algorithm. Right? Getting stuck in it. It should be a tool that is useful. Like, it is a tool that is useful, and that's fine. But you could have different algorithms, right? As a user, right? You could probably even decide, right? You could have different profiles that uses different algorithms, or uses the same algorithm, but you move differently within it. Or a profile that's where you don't have an algorithm, where you just like sort by time, right? You search for something and it sorts by most recent or most popular, right? You have that kind of sortings as well. That is not focused around you, right? There are other types of algorithms.
Something everybody else in history done wrong.
What, like eat the food, drink the water, and breathe the air?
Yeah, there are different types of algorithms that are not focused on you as a user. There are algorithms that are focused on the content, like the algorithm just sorting by popularity, sorting by recency, sorting by you could probably do semantic analysis, fuzzy searching, and like there's a lot of different stuff, right? Different ways to pick out data from a database. There's plenty of different ways. Node owner says, I don't know if shadow bans exist on Twitch, but it would be weird to go from stream to stream trying to chat with people and they never acknowledge you. You might start to think that people just don't like you or care about you. Yeah. I mean, I would assume that shadow bans would be... Right, it doesn't even have to be shadow bans. There's a weaker type of shadow bans, right? They have the algorithm point people towards you or not towards you, right? And they can have, like, as a streamer, for example, they can have people never seeing your stream, like, or just rarely. They could put people in different filter bubbles, right? As well, users, right? Some type of users might only be sent to certain type of streamers, right? And doing that, controlling the filter bubble, right? And some of that stuff would be like, some people would end up... That it's like, the line becomes fluid with the idea of shadow bans, because that, it might not even be a shadow ban, right? You're just steered clear from certain places. Blasphemous says that Twitch shadow bans many VPNs. You'll be talking, but nobody will see it. Oh, that's terrible. Blasphemous continues. I've seen channels on other sites where they don't show up when you browse channels. Huh. Yeah. I mean, from a business point of view, from a consumerist point of view, that all makes sense, right? That is how you make money. Yeah. So yeah, I would say that is something where politics is way behind on technology, right? Politics is way behind. Blasphemous says, hashtag not my internet. Right, that's the thing, right? I'm on Twitch right now. Maybe someday I'll be de-googled. Maybe someday no Twitch, no Facebook, no Google. Maybe. Maybe not, though. Right. 3. But the rage of traveling is a symptom of a deeper unsoundness, affecting the whole intellectual action. The rage of traveling? The intellect is vagabond, and our system of education fosters restlessness. Oh, wow. This complaint is going on today as well. I've seen this. I've seen this complaint for modern school, right? Blasphemous says, did you see that Brave is starting their own search engine? And then a facepalm? I did not see that, no. Why is that facepalm? It sounds like it would make sense for them, right? Note owner says, I just noticed a non-GMO label on my soda. That's gene modification something. Gene modification. There we go. Found a non-GMO label on my soda, and I don't know why people are so against GMO food. Yeah. Like, if your food is genetically modified to grow faster or be more resilient, isn't that a good thing? Your body doesn't care about the genetics of what you're eating, just the nutritional value, carbs, fats, sugars, protein, etc. I think people have this idea that it's unnatural, and unnatural equals unhealthy or bad. Yeah, that is one of the reasons why I always react to people saying unnatural as an argument. It's like, well, GMO is natural. It is in nature. Right? Look at the dogs. Maybe that's the thing, though. They look at dogs, and some of the gene modifications we've done on the dogs has been quite a disservice. Our GMO is just a tool. It can be a tool that is used in ways that I like, and it's a tool that can be used in a way that I don't like. Right? Just something being GMO, that's kind of weird. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Again, like, guns don't kill people. People with guns kill people. Right? What I don't like about the GMO thing, right? Something that I've heard, it's like, what are they called? Monsanto, right? They have a lot of stuff going on, right? With the seeds and the laws around the seeds and what, like it. The gene modification itself is not what bothers me. What bothers me is the patents and the control and the, instead of diversifying, it's centralizing. And what if something goes wrong, right? Let's say wheat. What if we centralize all wheat and there's only one strain and something happens with that strain and that strain dies out? I don't know about gene modifications. That's just one fear that just I've heard happen. But that's not an argument against GMO. That's just an argument of not centralizing and having everything be the same, right? I mean, I wouldn't want to live in a world without wheat. I like bread. Lastman says, we've discussed Brave before, yeah. They have done a few scummy things, right? Yeah, a few scummy things. Alright, they don't want you seeing other people's ads. They want you looking at their ads. Exactly. So it kind of makes sense for them to make their own search engine, right? Because they can have people watching their ads in their search engine. Yeah, it makes sense for Brave to do that. I get the facepalm, like it's, for me it's... For me that is probably an argument for me personally to not use Brave. Right. They have done scummy stuff and I don't really trust them, but that's personal value judgment from my side. But I would still think that I would prefer people looking at Brave's ads than I would, like, if we're talking about other people, what other people were doing, I would prefer other people watching Brave's ads more than they would watch Google's ads or Facebook's ads, just because it's a smaller organization, and I think that type of decentralization of the ads, I believe that's a good thing for society, right? Yeah, I would prefer that. Yeah, I would prefer that indeed. Blasphemous says Hitler didn't kill people, his friends killed people. Not even friends, right? It's underlings, soldiers, whatnot, right? people working at the places, those were the people killing people. Hitler. Actually, I don't know my history, but I would assume that, yeah, the High Chancellor would not get his hands dirty. Maybe he did enjoy killing people, and maybe he did. I don't know, right? Maybe he was a serial killer. I don't know, but right, he didn't literally kill any people. If that is the case, which I am assuming it is. Note says we have a bank of seeds in the North Pole. We do. There's one in Norway as well, in Svalbard. There's a bank of seeds there as well. Note says monocultures are a danger. Like, what if the whole planet was covered with one type of animal and a disease started to spread around, killing them all? COVID? Yeah. I mean, COVID hasn't been that dangerous, but the next disease might be, right? Also, right, that... I think the planet would be fine without us. Like, let's assume that human civilization died out. I think the planet would be fine. But yeah. I think, yeah, biodiversity, I think, is a strength. Yeah. Waldo says, it is mutating, though. Who knows? All right. Yeah, it might. It might, right? It's only been, what, 1 year, 2 years? Might be the end of human civilization. Who knows? Who knows indeed. Future is difficult to know. Waldo says, fine, it would be better off. Well, I mean, some animals would be better off, some animals would be worse off. It depends on what perspective you take, right? I mean, the cows, it would suck for them if all the humans died. They can't take care of themselves, right? The cows? Not anymore because of the GMO. Like the dogs? The dogs could probably go feral and... But a lot of them would die out, right? A lot of the dog species, like the dog varieties, it wouldn't be great for them. So for some animals it would be a boon, and for others it would be a curse. But like in general, the whole ecosystem would probably be fine, right? If we die off from a disease, and that disease doesn't mutate and just kill everything else. Which I don't believe it would. Blasphemous says, I told my doctor I wanted the antibody test. He gave me paperwork to get the shitty one done. Is there a shitty one? I had it in January 2020. This test will be useless. He also had the nerve to tell me only universities are doing T-cell tests. Lied to constantly. I mean, your doctor sounds like a total shit. Like, everything you tell me about your doctor sounds like shit. Is there no way to, like, get another doctor? Is that not possible? No, Donner says cows took care of themselves before they were domesticated, right? Same with horses. Yeah, wolves took care of themselves before they were dogs. So maybe they will be fine. Maybe not, right? I mean, cows, I think, like... Right. Take all of this with a grain of salt, but I heard somewhere, or I just imagined somewhere, right, that if you don't milk the cows, they end up, right, that is not good for the cow nowadays, because they are genetically modified in a way that it kind of assumes that it's gonna get milked every day. And if it doesn't get milked every day, bad shit will happen. I'm not sure if that's a real case. If that is really what happens. But that's what we were talking about. GMO, right? Some species, it would be a boon, and for others it would not. Maybe it would be fine. And it depends on what you... I mean, I'm not saying they would necessarily die out. I don't think the cows would die out. I would just think that a lot of the cows would die out. It would not be as many cows as it were before. But I suppose the cows in India are doing just fine. Wait, actually, I think I've heard that they're not doing just fine. So maybe it's not a problem. I don't know. Blasphemous says, I've told you about a few other doctors I've had in the past too. Yeah, I'm considering moving. You've told me that in the past too. That might be a good idea. Blasphemous says, all these animals were fine before humans came along. Yeah. My argument is that a lot of them are having it better now, right? If we're just talking about, right, from an evolutionary standpoint, what is the most important metric? Well, number of animals, right? Number of animals, and they have spread throughout the whole planet, right? They have come with us. Many cows are tortured now. Oh yeah, that kind of sucks. But that from... Yeah, that's a good point. Cows don't have it very well, right? So maybe... From that point of view, maybe cows would have it better. Yeah. I just had the numbers game in mind. But from quality of life, probably, right? Even if 80% of all the cows died out, maybe that would be a boon for the cow in general. Yeah. I would probably go with that. The dogs are not tortured, though. Blasphemous says, unless you're a cow in India, supposedly. What I've heard, though, is that the cows in India do have it's kind of terrible as well. I'm not sure, though. No Donor says, I'm not a fan of suffering. Me neither. I don't like it. So maybe it would be better for the cows to die off. I would have to concede that is very possible that it would be good for the cows. Blasphemous says, dogs are not tortured where you live? Blasphemous says, most of the time? Yeah, no. I mean, every dog I've ever... Well, not every dog I've ever met. The majority of all the dogs I've met in my life have had a good time, yeah. Blasphemous says, is it good that pets are so reliant? It depends on what your point of view is. I would say does it matter? From my point of view, I mean, it's good. Like Stockholm Syndrome and all that. Yeah, it's good that a pet is reliant on me. Because yeah, I'm the one that makes the decisions. Right, that's why I'm saying that is kind of the point, right? That if humans died out, then no. And that was the argument, right? Because dogs will have a terrible time if humans die out. It will not be good for the dogs. So from that point of view, then no. It's not so good that they are reliant from that point of view. But as long as we humans stay around, it's good for the dogs, right? Because the goods have pretty nice lives. Blasphemous says they'd be fine in a few years. I suppose that will kind of well, now that I think about that, everything would be fine in a few years. And one could argue that everything is fine right now as well. Everything will be fine in a few years, even if we don't. Even if humans stays around, everything will be fine in a few years. Right? With that kind of attitude, right? And if everything will be fine... Well, it's not nothing will be fine, it's just that the argument kind of falls flat. Blasphemous. Yeah, only humans would keep reproducing even when things are bad. But that's... Things are not bad from an evolutionary standpoint. Right? It's... From an evolutionary standpoint, humans have it great right now. Humans have it great. We're doing just fine from an evolutionary standpoint. It's your perspective that says that humans are doing terrible, right? Blasphemous, you have it great. I have it okay. Yeah. No, but from an evolutionary standpoint, right? We have spread, we have control over a lot of stuff. The human race. We might be on the verge of, like, collapsing our society and screwing ourselves over, but that has not happened yet, right? And I would say from an evolutionary standpoint, we will only have it bad when that shit happens. And it have not happened yet. Right? As long as the number of people are growing, which they still are, that is from an evolutionary standpoint, humans are doing fine because we're still growing, right? Hello, Banana Waffle Monkey, how are you doing today? And I would say no, that not only humans would keep reproducing when things are bad. Right? Take COVID for example. Let's guess. No, let's imagine that we just find a cure. We find a cure for COVID, and we're gonna make COVID suffer through that cure. It would still try keeping reproducing itself. Like, that's every living creature will try to reproduce no matter how good or bad things are, because that is how evolution works, right? We try to keep reproducing because that is a trait that has to, like, if you don't have that trait, your species would not be alive, right? That's one of the main things, that's one of the main operations that any living creature does. It tries to reproduce, right? It doesn't matter. Yeah, all creatures try to reproduce. No matter, like, especially when things are bad. Maybe. Banana Waffle Monkey says it's a numbers game, right? Yeah, from an evolutionary standpoint. Blasphemous is technologically growing. Blasphemous says, I highly doubt most species would continue to reproduce at a rapid rate when things are not going well. That's interesting because what we've seen with humanity is the better things are technologically or quality of life wise or educational wise, the less we reproduce, right? The further along you are in technological innovation, right? Take our country, for example. We have, like, I don't know, 1.5 children per partnership. And then you go to places where things are worse and they have way more children. Yeah, there is a direct correlation. I remember that. A direct correlation with the higher education you have, the higher educated you are, the less children you will have. And in my mind, I mean, I like education. I think education is a great thing. Maybe you don't, though, Blasphemous. Even if resources are limited, but that's the thing. With education comes resources. Resources are limited, more limited where there is less education. Right? It is education and technological advancements that lets us torture these poor animals, the cows and the chickens and whatnot. We torture them because we know how to do it, because of the knowledge and technological advancements. Let's see. Banana Waffle Monkey says, the idea is that because more of you are gonna die, you need to reproduce more to outnumber the deaths. Oh yeah, the numbers game again, yeah. I remember that. I heard that. Someone says, well, what happens when you grow a farm and increase the number of food that... Well, that's actually interesting. Because I've heard that argument. That's an argument for blasphemous sides here, right? Because I've heard that you have a farm and you get some technological advancements, and that farm, you double your output. What happens is not that you start storing up food. What you do instead is you double the amount of people that takes the food from that place. Right? And you keep balancing. So maybe you do have a point, right? Resources. And maybe the reason why we have, right, the education, maybe that's a medical thing rather than a food thing. Nordrunner points out that viruses are not alive in the way we think of life. That's a good point. What about bacteria? Are they alive in the way we think about life? What about ants? I don't know. Nordrunner says you need to reproduce faster when things are not going well. The species will not survive otherwise. Yeah. Good point. Banana Waffle Monkey says, funny enough, the average age of fertility decreases with increased quality of life. Balancing stuff, maybe? Blasphemous says, even if resources are limited. I guess when resources are limited, stuff balances out, right? I think that reproduction balances out based on the resources limited, available, right? And that's kind of what happens over generations, right? So when things get worse in a resource, like we're talking food here, right? If there's a lot of starvation, a lot of people will starve, and I think I'm with you on that, Blasphemous, that probably balances out and people will have less food. If they cannot increase the amount of resources, there will be less children. But part of me thinks that it's not less children because people stop having children. I think it's less children because more children dies. Don't quote me on that no, though. That's a guess on my side. Probably both, though. Well, if a lot of children die, people will start having more children, though, because of the numbers game. That's how it was in the olden days, right? If you go back 100, 200 years, like here where I live, people had like, I don't know, 8 children. Now they have 1 or 2. Banana Waffle Monkey says, because your body goes, oh, I'm getting lots of food and water and stuff. I'm gonna start releasing eggs now. Oh, of course, yeah. Blasphemous says, where there is less education in the countries we stole the resources from. Yeah, exactly. But that it's not only stealing resources. You can look back in history, right? There was less education in Sweden 100 years ago, and people had more, like, there was less education, people had more children. It's just a correlation, though. It's just a correlation. It might not mean anything. Might not mean anything, indeed. Nodonor says bacteria are alive. Yes, ants are alive as well. Yeah. Right, I was just saying it doesn't have to be COVID, right? You could replace my example with something else about fighting them. Blasphemous says, hashtag eat the babies. Eat all the babies. Oh, gross. I have a modest proposal for you. Oh, nice. Oh, man, I haven't read that in a long time. The modest proposal. Blasphemous says that Banana Waffle Monkey is going to propose to me. And here is the proposal. How long is this again? I don't remember. Is it British or Irish? This is one we can read. This is sarcasm. I'm not so very good at sarcasm. Now, what monk is base of the size of the cursor? It is a shorter one, and it is satire. All right, not sarcasm, satire. Thank you. Oh, my bad, indeed. That is the proposal. You could definitely put that on the list. I have read it in the past, but I don't remember it. The only thing I remember is eat all the babies. Yeah. And Wolfmonk says specifically making fun of the way the British are treating the Irish. Ah, there we are. So it was So it's written by an Irish, right? But in Britain. Yeah, the Irish had a rough deal for a while there. For a while, the Irish had a rough deal. There is still, well, I lived in Ireland. How long ago was that? 10 years? More than 10 years. 15 years ago? Less than 15. Between 10 and 15 years ago I lived in Ireland. And there's still a lot of hatred towards the British. Still a lot of dislike. It's part of the culture. It's not, it's not as bad. Alright, our minds travel when our bodies are forced to stay at home. We imitate. And that, and what is imitation but the traveling of the mind? Alright. But if you only have a limited stuff to imitate, if you only have a limited stuff to imitate, that is, right, it's a less imitation. It's more, what's the word? Like when you travel and then you get back home, you have a greater sample size and imitations to do, right? Our houses are built with foreign taste. Shelves are garnished with foreign ornaments. But our opinions, our tastes, our faculties lean and follow the past and the distant. No, I disagree with that. Right? The more you travel, the more you cross-pollinate these things. Yeah, you cross-pollinate. Right? You imitate the stuff that you like and you leave behind the stuff that you don't like. Blasphemous says, Cider, if you lived back then, what would you be doing with your time? Reading? It depends what I was born as, right? If I was upper class, then probably, a lot of reading. I would have guessed. A lot of reading. Maybe some sciencing. Maybe a little bit of traveling. When I was younger, I did a lot of traveling, right? If I was in the lower classes, I don't think I would have lived to be my age now, yeah. I don't think I would have survived. But it's difficult to say. It's that's a completely different upbringing, right? Like, statistically, probably I would be working class. So probably I would be like one of the slaves on one of the farms. That would probably be what I was doing with my time. Just slaving along. Until I couldn't take it anymore, and then I wouldn't make it anymore. It's difficult to say, though. That's...
Just give me a fucking chance to breathe. I got a few questions of my own. You ain't dying, he is.
Wild speculation. What do you think, right? What would you do back then? Assuming upper classes. Yeah, lower classes, it's like... Well, lower classes, the speculation is not very wide, right? It's very straightforward what you would be doing. You would be doing what all the other people from the lower classes, right? There was no room for any decisions of that kind. So if we assume the upper classes, then that speculation might be more interesting. Well, it wouldn't be more interesting because that, yeah, it would be reading for me. Reading, maybe writing, yeah. Blasphemous sitting on my porch, smoking tobacco. Yeah. Yeah, I would probably, yeah, sitting on the porch and reading. Going to plays, listening to music and whatnot. Right, it was in his own mind that the artist sought his model. It was an application of his own thought to the thing to be done and the considerations to be observed. The conditions to be observed. Yeah, but you need to make the observations, right? And why need we copy the Doric and the Gothic model? Beauty, convenience, grandeur of thought, and quaint expression are as near to us as to any. And if the American artist will study with hope and love the precise thing to be done by him, considering the climate, the soil, the length of the day, the wants of the people, the habit and form of the government, he will create a house in which all these will find themselves fitted, and taste the sentiment will be satisfied also. Blasphemous, a sigh. That makes me miss being bored. I mean, you're welcome to be bored. I would argue spend some time being bored. Every day. I think it's good for you being bored. I mean, there's no one holding a gun against your head saying, "Don't be bored." I don't think. Blasphemous, do you feel like you never really had the chance to be bored for long? I have that as a thing. I try to practice being bored. Just not doing anything. I mean, not reading, not watching any shows, not spending time on the computer. Really have the chance? I mean, I have a lot of chances to be bored all the time. My mind fights against it. If you talk about that. I have psychologicals, yeah. My psyche fights against the boredom. But I'm up for that fight. So I spend a little time, not every day, but I spend time every other day maybe, just being bored. I think I must have spent at least an hour yesterday just doing nothing. Just nothing, being bored. Yeah. Blasphemous, how's that going for you? I think it's healthy. Yeah. I think it helps me with my mental health. Do you ever enjoy it? Well, that's a good point, right? So maybe I didn't spend an hour. Maybe I spent half an hour. Because then oftentimes my mind starts to wander. And sometimes I enjoy those wanderings, right? Maybe 50% of the time, just wild guessing that when the mind wanders, sometimes I enjoy it. And then I'm not bored anymore, so that's a good point. But I would assume, right, I still feel that urge, right? Even if I am kind of enjoying it, I would enjoy doing something else more. But I think that is what happens, right? When you're bored, your mind just activates and just do stuff. I think that is one of the benefits, mind wandering. Blasphemous, I don't think I can possibly be bored. Oh? I can keep myself entertained in the darkness and silence with my own thoughts for hours. Alright, so that's... Ooh. I cannot do that. That I cannot do. Not keep myself entertained. But then, right, then the practice becomes don't do that, right? Maybe do the meditation thing. And don't keep yourself entertained, right? Especially if you miss being bored, right? Take control of your thoughts. Just, whoop, now I'm entertaining myself. Better stop doing that. And just look at that, I don't know, look at that nail in the wall. I don't know, look at that spot of dirt in the ceiling. Just, then when you notice yourself, oh, what? My mind is wandering and I'm entertained again. Just look at that spot and look at how fucking boring that spot in the ceiling is. You can do it. I believe in you, Blasphemous. I believe in you. You can be bored. It is possible to control what happens in your within your thoughts. It takes effort. It might take some effort, but you can do it. Believe in you indeed. Alright. Insist on yourself. Never imitate. Your own gift can present every moment with the cumulative force of a whole life's cultivation. But the adopted talent of another you have only exemptuous half possession. This specific point, I've seen this over and over and over in the text, and I just cannot make a charitable interpretation because this seems like an oxymoron to me, right? A whole life of cultivation. What have you cultivated? You've looked at stuff from the outside, right? You have to look at stuff on the outside. Whole life's cultivation, that's your experience. Experience of stuff that has happened in your life. Blasphemous says, be right back. Alright, see you in a bit. That which each can do best, none but his maker can teach him. No man yet knows what it is, nor can till that person has exhibited it. Where is the master who could have taught Shakespeare? Yeah, because Shakespeare had no teachers, no inspirations. Yeah. Where is the master who would have introduced Franklin or Washington or Bacon or Newton? Yeah, they did no studying. It just came to them. They just invented maths from the beginning. None of them read Pythagoras. None of them did. Yeah. Every great man is unique. The Scipionism of Scipio is precisely that part he could not borrow. I mean, sure, you have a point, but you study others, right? Standing on the shoulders of giants. We've heard a lot of people say that, standing on the shoulders of giants. Shakespeare will never be made by the study of Shakespeare. No, but we have had great authors after Shakespeare that has studied Shakespeare. Do that which is assigned you, and you cannot hope too much or dare too much. There is at this moment for you an utterance brave and grand, as does that colossal chisel of Phidias, or trowel of the Egyptians, or the pen of Moses, or Dante. Dante? Oh man, I don't know how to pronounce that in English. Dante? Oh, never mind. But differences from all of these. Not possibly will the soul, all rich, all eloquent, with thousand cloven tongue, disdained to repeat itself. But if you can hear what these patriarchs say, surely you can reply to them in the same pitch of voice, for the ear and the tongue are two organs of one nature. Abide in the simple and noble regions of thy life. Obey thy heart, and thou shalt reproduce the foreworld again. Don't know what the foreworld is, but yeah, definitely listen to your heart. It's the 4 here. Oh, the 4 is quite long. Oh, it's the last bit. Yeah, I can do it. I can do it. We can finish this today. We can finish it. Finish it. As our religion, our education, our art look abroad, so does our spirit of society. All men plume themselves on the improvement of society, and no man improves. Okay. I mean, I would want to see an improved society, and I have improved. I'm better now than I was 10 years ago, I would say. Maybe I will start stagnate sooner or later. Maybe I have started stagnating. It's kind of that age, right? Starting to grow old, and there is not a lot of improvements to be made. The brain is still plastic, so I can still learn new stuff, and from that sense, I can still improve throughout my life. But from other parts, not so much. Society never advances. Well, that's just not true. It recedes as fast on the one side as it gained on the other, and undergoes continual changes. It is barbarous, civilized, Christianized, rich, and it is scientific. But this change is not amelioration. That I need to look up, I think. An act or instance of ameliorating or making better. Oh, right. Yeah, I mean, change for the sake of change is not better, right? Because better is a value judgment, and some changes you may find better, some changes you may find worse, right? Change is not just for the sake, right? But I would say advances are changes, right? You advances in one direction or another direction, right? But that is advancements. But advancements just because of themselves are not... Yeah, I agree with that statement, sure. For everything that is given, something is taken. Alright, and we have the political pendulum as well. And I would agree, right? There is a pendulum, right? It goes back and forth between different things, right? We try to make a lot of changes, and then we try to, oh wait, slow down a little bit, and then pendulum goes back and forth, right? But if you look at those pendulum, there is also advancements due, especially in the last 400 years, right? Like there is a pendulum that goes like this, but the general trend goes upwards, right? There is an advancing trend in technology, right? We have a lot of more technology today that has ever been had before, which assumes there have had to be technological advancements, right? Over time, damn it, fuck that. Alright, society acquires new arts and loses old instincts. Sure. What a contrast between the well-clad, reading, writing, thinking American with a watch, a pencil, and a bill of exchange in his pocket, and a naked New Zealander whose property is a club, a spear, a mat, and an undivided 20th of a shed to sleep under. But compare the health of the two men, and you shall see that the white man has lost his aboriginal strength. Sure, if you don't live out in nature, I'm assuming that you live and, like, have to hunt yourself. If you just sit on your ass all day, then you lose physical strength, right? Well, you don't build physical strength. Do you lose it or do you just not build it? Well, we're talking about evolutionary wise here. So I don't know. Is there any significant muscle mass between the Australian or New Zealand Maori and like white people? And is that genetic or is it cultural? If it is genetic, then maybe we have lost some strength because we have machines that do that stuff for us. Then the future of the Maori is the same. No, actually, I don't believe it. I don't think it's that significant genetic of a change. I've seen white strongman, I've seen black strongman, I've seen Maori strongman. Right? The Mountain, he was a white man. Yes. Right, so I don't think that is a significant genetic difference, indeed. So I don't buy that. If the traveler tell us truly, right, and then if I don't buy that, then compare the health of the two men, then we don't compare genetics, right? We compare two people in two different situations, right? A person who lives with nature, whatever, right, and not sit on your ass all day, that person will not be as strong as the person who lives out in the forest and hunt every day and whatnot, run around. They will have more physical strength. Just like the person who sits on their ass all day and just study and study and study and study will have higher epistemological strength. Theoretical strength, right? This muscle is more trained and these muscles are weaker, right? It's use it or lose it. That is the way of the muscle. Alright. If the traveler tell us truly, strike the savage with a broadaxe, and in a day or two the flesh shall unite and heal as if you struck the blow into a soft pinch. And the same blow will send the white to his grave. I mean, it depends on how strong you strike. Will muscle work as armor? I'm not sure about that. Like, if you tighten your muscle and like, ooh, I'm so strong, and someone, will that strength and muscle? Well, if you have more muscle, of course that works with armor because you have to use more strength to cut through it. So the bigger muscles you have, the harder it is to chop your axe into the thing. Yeah, so it probably works like armor, yeah. Extra armor. Your own muscles. The civilized man has built a couch, but has lost the use of his feet. He is supported on crutches, but lacks so much support of muscle. He has a fine Geneva watch, but he fails of the skill to tell the hour by the sun. I can tell the hour by the sun. That's geographical awareness, right? And like, if I know where I am, I know which way is north. North. And if I know which way is north, I can just watch my own shadow and like, oh, right. I can face the north and watch my own shadow and tell what the time is. That's not difficult to learn. Right, but I mean, to a fair point, right, that a lot of people sit on their ass every day and don't get their exercise. And that's unhealthy. And I'm all for that, yeah. Go out jogging or whatever. Or just taking walks in the forest or whatever. Just do something. Do what I say, don't what I do. But I would, yeah. I'll try that soon again. Start taking walks. Yeah, maybe start taking walks. I did try running for a while, but I fucking hated it. I hate walking as well, but maybe... I don't know. Trying something new. A Greenwich Nautical Almanac he has, and so being sure of the information when he wants it. The man in the street does not know a star in the sky. The solstice he does not observe. I observe the solstice. It's today. It's today. We're gonna celebrate. The summer solstice? That's the midsummer, right? I think so. The equinox he knows as little. And the whole bright calendar of the year is without a dial in his mind. I don't know about that. I am affected by the seasons, even though I have a calendar and spend most of my days inside. I get affected by the seasons, right? I have a fan right there that I have to have. I don't remember having that a year ago as well. A fan just having to blow on me because it's hot. And in the winter I remember having double blankets. And I observe that stuff, right? And when, right? I can feel winter is coming, summer is coming. I can feel those things. His notebooks impair his memory. That is interesting, though. Actually, one of the studies I made was about this. Notebooks impair memory. The argument was, though, that memory takes time and effort, right? And if we can write stuff down and store it on an outside memory, like a storage device, like a USB stick or a document on a computer or a book for that matter, what use have I to memorize that stuff? Isn't it better I learn how to use said information, and when I need said information, I can just look it up? And there are still people with great fucking memory, right? I go back to that... talking about terrible memory. That American... no, not American, sorry. The British dude I've recommended a couple of times. Why do I forget this name all the time? Darren Brown, right? Darren Brown has an amazing... he do some amazing memory feats, yeah. His libraries overload his wit. The insurance office increases the number of accidents. And it may be a question whether machinery does not encumber, whether we have not lost by refinement some energy, by a Christian entrenched in establishments and forms, some vigor of a wild fortune. Sure, but what is the trade-off, right? Would we make this trade-off? Probably yes. For every Stoic was a Stoic. But in Christendom, where is the Christian? I'm sure. I don't know. Aren't they all Christian? I'm confused. There is no more deviation in the moral standard than the standard of height or bulk. No greater men are now than ever were. I mean, sure there is. If you look at specifics, sure there is. Right? People are breaking world records still from time to time, right? People are getting faster, can jump higher, can run faster, cycle faster, can think faster, I don't know. if you look at specific examples of what people are capable of, we diversify. And by our diversification, people can focus on one specific thing and become greater than anyone else have ever been in that specific thing. If it's just, right, the frame of reference, what is a greater man in this situation, though, I don't know. Plasma says, thanks steroids, thanks meth, right? Yeah, people on meth can stay up for way longer before, like, other people would collapse. That's greater achievements. Steroids, greater achievements. Right? Both with and without, right? I've thought like that, right? If sports is all about... We can have different tiers of fighting, right? Just like we have different tiers of boxing, weight classes and whatnot. We could have... Why not have steroids as a competitive thing, right? And do that as the other competitive things. We just put them in different classes. Right, the pure non-narcotics using, I mean, you have drawn the line somewhere, right? The line is drawn somewhere. Then you can have another competition where the line is drawn at a different space, right? And one where there is no rules what you can do to your own body. I mean, if people want to destroy their own bodies just to be great at one specific thing, why not let them? Why not look at them and see, oh wow, that is so cool, that is so crazy what they're doing right now. I mean, I see it's unfair, right? I think it's fine that we don't put them in the same category as the people not destroying their bodies in the same way. But I think different categories are just fine. And I would be... I mean, I'm not very interested in sports, but if I were, I could imagine I would want to see, like, the best of the best, no matter how they got there. Lasmus says steroid fights might be way more fun, right? They might be, right? Maybe, like, they have weightlifting. People look at people doing weightlifting or bicycling. That might be more fun. Get them on meth too? Yeah, like endurance stuff. I think maybe what you want to do is amphetamines are better than meth for endurance stuff. But meth might work as well. Or cocaine. I don't know. Like, yeah, you can do a lot of stuff with a lot of stuff. And why not, right? Plasma says sports were more fun when they let them do steroids. I mean, I wouldn't know. I don't remember watching any sports where they let them do steroids. And I don't really remember having fun enjoying sports. But maybe, I mean, I enjoy watching Dota. That sport I don't know what's a performance enhancer on that. Probably meth, right? Steroids wouldn't help you on Dota, but maybe meth, maybe, yeah, those kind of uppers would help you. I don't know, maybe. Blasmus says, I was thinking if the fighters were on meth, they'd be crazier. Oh, right. They could be drunk as well, right? You could have them be on alcohol, like, and on painkillers, right? Painkillers so they can ignore the pain. And that would be way crazier, right? You could have fights on shrooms or LSD where they didn't know what the fuck was going on. If they wanted to, right? I mean, this all assumes, right? Not forcing this upon people, right? Different tiers of fights where if you want to compete in that situation, you should be allowed to. I would never, like, encourage people to do some of these things, right? Because they kind of... They wear on your body and your mind in a way that you should, like, informed consent, right? if that is what you want to do, you should be allowed doing it. But like pushing people into these things, I mean, these things are unhealthy, so I think it would be rude to pushing people in that direction. If that makes sense? Last one says, yeah, drunk, lol. Drunk true, lol. Exactly, right? Where would we draw the line for their safety, though, Kappa? I mean, I haven't watched a lot of fighting, right? I don't know a lot of fighting. Isn't there already lines, safety lines drawn? Right. And in different fighting, like in, what's that called? MMA is different than boxing, right? Because in MMA you don't have the fluffy gloves, but in boxing you have the fluffy gloves. So you have different lines for their safety. And I kind of feel like it is not up to me or you to draw these lines of safety. It is up to those people and the people around them, like the people who are actually doing the fighting and the people around them, right? The trainers and the spouses or whatever. Like I think they would have to have a say in where is the safety lines drawn. I don't think I should draw those lines. It doesn't really make sense. I don't know. But I would prefer not to have fights like Colosseums where people die and that is the end of the fight. Right? I don't think. I mean, maybe people would be into that. Would that be okay if people were into that? I just want to be in one fight and I want to kill the other dude, or I want to be killed. I mean, there are people of all sorts, so maybe there are people who would enjoy that, and who am I to say no? I would, just like with the suicide we were talking about though, I would have a grace period where, like, because that's kind of suicide, right? A form of suicide, one could imagine. I would do the same thing with that, right? Where you would have to talk to specialists and, right, there would have to be a societal thing, just like, yeah, like the suicide thing, because that's extreme. I would probably go in and say no to death. A death situation, I would go in as a society and just put safeguards in place. Allow it with safeguards in place, just like the suicide thing. Right, Blasphemous says, the problem comes when they feel they have to do these things in order to be better. Yeah, the pushing, right? That's what I'm all against, but that's why we have different tiers, right? In one fight you fight drunk, in another fight you fight sober, right? You fight with no narcotics, right? Like the tier of fighting that we have today. Like we have different fighting tiers, that's different weight classes. You have different narcotic classes, right? You could probably say, like, I know, like, my brother was into weightlifting for a bit, and I know they eat a lot of pasta because that helps you build muscles.
It's the deep breath before the plunge.
What about all those people who are gluten intolerant, right? We could have a tier where you're not allowed to eat any pasta, right? You can have all kind of tiers, like speedrunning, right? You can have all sorts of tier where you make up the rules for this specific type of combat or this specific thing. I mean, there has to be room for that, right? There has to be room for that. And not pushing people to do weird shit that destroys their bodies, right? Always. Blasphemous says, yeah, but if they were on painkillers fighting, they might get seriously hurt. I mean, isn't that any fight? They might get seriously hurt if you hit them, right? I mean, isn't that just a thing with boxers, right? Like, most of them that do a lot of boxing end up with brain damage. Just like with your American football, there's a lot of brain damage. Like, they are getting seriously hurt. That is part of it already. And I would say, yes, definitely have fights and sports where that is not allowed, right? And that is, I would say, push that as the main thing, right? Where the main attractions would be where people don't do stuff where they get seriously hurt, right? And I know I saw a video about that, like where they had that as an example, like bicyclists. They cycle so much that a lot of them are suffering from what's that called? Bone hollowness. Right? A lot of bicyclers, they end up in a situation where their bones weaken and they break their bones way easier than just a normal person, right? Blasphemous says, yeah, but when you're on painkillers, you end up doing things you shouldn't be doing because you are not feeling it. Yeah, and that's informed consent. That's what I said, right? Informed consent. When you take the painkiller, you get told, like before, you are aware that this will lead you to do things you shouldn't be doing because you will not be feeling it, right? This will fuck you up. You will get brain damage, you might break an arm, you might break a leg, right? You might fuck yourself up and maybe you will never be able to walk properly again. Maybe you will live the rest of your life on pain, right? Informed consent. Yeah. Informed consent indeed. Blasphemous says, not that I've done it, but I've read about it happening. Yeah, I mean, when you're drunk, definitely, right? When you're drunk, you would end up doing stuff that you wouldn't do otherwise, so I would assume painkillers, right? You would probably concede the fight if you're in too much pain. But if you don't feel any pain, you would probably stay in the fight longer, right? If you would break your arm, you might continue fighting on painkillers, especially if they have a mental component that you get high from it. Blasphemous says, at what point would this be considered barbaric, lol? I mean, I would consider some of the stuff we do today already barbaric. Barbaric, however, is not necessarily something bad, right? Informed consent, right? They want to do these things. If they want to do these things, I would probably say that these would be rare occurrences, right? And I would, in my mind, I would say that it's not a healthy mind that does these kinds of things. I would say the minds that do these things are kind of obsessive and compulsive about the thing. But that's right. That's every mind, right? Trying to be the best at anything. They have to be kind of obsessive and compulsive about said thing, right? And we encouraging that behavior to us and celebrating that behavior in a way where they injure themselves. Well, which they do, right? It's not only fighting, it's like bicycling, for example. We do encourage these things, and that is kind of barbaric, right? So that's why I would put those safeguards in place, right? You have to talk to professional psychologists before you do something like this. Maybe not even the suicide thing, right? But on the other hand, right, one could say it's even more barbaric that we don't let people do whatever they want to do as long as they don't hurt anyone else, right? If two people are giving their informed consent and they see themselves as mentally sane and right, they're not hopped up on drugs before they make the decision, right? And they want to do these things. Isn't it barbaric to say no? Right? Isn't the war on drugs barbaric? I would say so, yeah. Blasphemous says, people on YouTube do stupid things for views. Wouldn't we be encouraging the same type of behavior? I mean, we already are, and it is barbaric, right? That's my point. We are, and it is. But we have put, the line is arbitrary, right? There is an arbitrary line politically put somewhere, right? It is an arbitrary line someone put somewhere. And just saying, oh, everything on that side of the line is barbaric, but if we do the exact same thing on this line, it's fine. So I'm a lot for putting those decisions in the people who are affected by said decisions, right? I am not affected by these types of decisions, so I don't really think that society should be the one making too many decisions. Safeguards, yes, but just to make sure, right? Plasma says people are not always aware of the consequences until it happens to them. It won't happen to me. Yeah. Again, that's why I use the words informed consent. That is super important to me. Informed consent. That is, like, if we're talking pragmatically, I have no idea how we would set up a system in society to have all these things to make sure, right? The safeguards that I want to have are not realistic, right? It's a fantasy world I have. So I guess we would have to have the... What I'm arguing for is more an attitude and an approach that I would want society to take. I would want to keep the arbitrary line that we have today, and I would make iterative small changes toward this direction, the direction that I'm talking about. Blasphemous says, informed consent is more so to legally protect the one putting on such event. Yeah, I mean, informed consent means that I am informed about all and understand all the dangers this is to me, right? I might shorten my life with 20 years by doing this, right? That's even before the event, right? That's training for the event, right? We were talking about the drugs earlier, right? Drugs, steroids, you don't do them at the fight. Well, you might do them at the fight, but you do them for a long time before the actual event, right? So the informed consent happens before you start taking the narcotic itself, right? Before you start doing that training regiment, right? It doesn't have to be narcotics or drugs or whatever. It can be just a training regiment that makes you super great at one thing, but might also rip your body apart, kinda. So yeah, it's not about protecting you, it's about protecting you from the ignorance of not understanding what is going to happen to you. Like, this is gonna fuck you up. You're gonna live, like, the last 40 years of your life will be filled with pain. You will live through this pain. Is this worth it to you? Do you understand what you are doing? That, in my mind, is informed consent. Do you still want to do it? Then yeah, sure. Like, I don't recall. You're smoking, right, Blasphemous? You're doing the tobacco thing. You are aware that it might lead to lung cancer or whatever, right? That's informed consent. You know that this is a possibility, but you want to do it still. And I think that's fine, right? Yeah, I think that is fine. You are informed that this might be a possibility, right, of how the end of your life will look. And I think that's fine, right? You wouldn't say, oh, we should make tobacco illegal, right? Blasphemous says, I'm also aware that the average age of lung disease is like 74. Yeah, right? You are informed that this might happen to you, and you're also informed that it might not, right? And you're willing to take the risks, right? Blasphemous says, I say we should make it illegal for companies to add a bunch of chemicals. Right, there we are in disagreement. I would say no to that. I would say it should not be illegal, but the consumer, the one who buys these cigarettes, should be informed, right? Oh, all these chemicals has been added. And in this one, there's not a bunch of chemicals added. So you, like the tobacco smoker or snoozer or whatever, exactly. opt in. There should be options. Indeed. There should be options. That's what I'm arguing for in those situations as well. There should be options, and you should be informed of the decisions that you're making. What options am I choosing right now? I'm for the legalization of all substances, right? Just regulated in a way that every time you buy meth, for example, and you go to the store every time, like I've said that before, every time you buy meth, you end up in the store and they are required to, like, a 20-second lecture. The consequences of doing this is, and then just read the most important consequences, right? And it coming with a, like, I'm assuming you do the same with all your medications. It comes with a long fucking manual, right? We have a long fucking manual with a lot of information every time you buy a piece of medication, with all the information about said medication. Yeah, and I would argue for something like that. You always have to stand and listen and wait for them to hold that thing where they tell you these are the possible consequences, and the worst ones, of course. And then you get that little paper, or it doesn't, like, save the trees, don't waste the trees. So the packaging is just, instead of these, well, they have these gross pictures, which is kind of gross, which I guess is fine. But I would say, like, a short URL, like, the information should be in your face, and it should say, read this, right? It should be a strong encouragement to read the information. Or it doesn't even have to be read. It can be a YouTube video of someone explaining it, right? These are, as far as we're aware from science, the possible consequences. And there could be unknown consequences as well, right? Alright, the best Cushy Cushy says, hello again, the best Cushy Cushy. They say, how's it doing? Thanks for the mod. Oh, no problem at all. There are no mods in this channel. We don't do mods. Because if everyone's a mod, no one's a mod. It's going well. We're talking about barbaric Colosseum-like fights. And like the politics of the thing. Should it be illegal today? And in a way, I would say, yeah, sure. The best Cushy Cushy says, haha, oh, I see. So how are you doing today, the best Cushy Cushy? And I'm trying to, I mean, I'm almost done with this thing. But since it's lunchtime and it's a long day for me today, right? It's midsummer, I'm thinking of just heading off. But I don't know. On the other side, I kind of want to finish this. How long have we been going? 2 hours? I could finish this tomorrow instead. I don't know. Best Cushy Cushy says, I'm awesome. Nice. Just chilling before working on my Linux exclusive game. Oh, Linux exclusive. Nice. Nice, I like that. Is it Xorg exclusive or does it work with Wayland? Best Cushy Cushy? I'm curious. Best Cushy Cushy says, but I have no artist, so it's a generic RPG Maker game, unfortunately. I mean, that's fine. I mean, since you're doing a Linux thing, right? You could probably... you can probably make an open source thing if you can find an artist that would want to help you, right? If you place the thing on GitHub, and you can have an artist just add their art to the thing, maybe. Best Cushy Cushy says it works on AMD, both on Wayland and X on AMD. Nice. I just export it using RPG Maker. Nice. On NVIDIA it doesn't work, unfortunately, at least with the new Wayland drivers. Yeah, because that's NVIDIA, it's fucking shit, right? Blasphemous, how hard is that to do? RPG Maker is a joke to use. Nice. Like, not even coding is required. Oh, wow, nice. Must be very time-consuming, though, right? Huh? The best Cushy Cushies is very specific, but awesome for RPGs. No, not at all. Everything is ready for you. You just put the dialogues and enemies in. All right. So, you could say it's kind of like writing a book. And writing a book is time-consuming, right? So if you make a game, well, you can make a shorter game. Like you can make a short story, right? Best Cushy Cushies? Yeah, something like that. Nice. Blasphemous. Maybe I should get that the next time it's in Humble Bundle. Oh. I'm gonna put it on Steam for free. Oh, nice. It's gonna be on Steam. Alright. You'll have to tell me about it when you're done with it, and I'll try it out. Yeah. I'm easily influenced like that, right? That sounds like fun. Playing a pure, like... I've had that... I've been thinking about that for a long time. I'm gonna play some... Right, I have this website here. Right, you should add it to this website. Where is it? Here we go. Libra Gaming Wiki. This is a list of free games. Free like in freedom. There are a few games on this list. There are a few games. Blasphemous Cider. Under the Influence. McDread. Yeah. Kinda enjoyed that. Like letting other people decide stuff for me. Yeah. Lots of games here. Lots of games. I haven't started playing any of them yet. It's on the list. There's a long fucking list though. The list is so long. Best Cushy Cushy says, I'm thinking of making some basic stuff today and uploading already as an alpha version. And just keep updating for anyone interested. Yeah, that makes sense. Blasphemous makes it easier for you. If you're asking me, yeah, right. I don't have to make any decisions. I can just let other people do it for me. Yeah. Definitely making it easier for me. Right? I'm happy you gave me right. When I've finished this one, you have given me 2 other things that I'm gonna read. As long as I don't get overwhelmed, I'm happy. So no more reading examples yet. Not until we catch up. And like Node Runner gave me the thing that we read earlier, the Steam Summer thing. We read that, right? I wouldn't have come up with that on my own. Best Cushy Cushy says, hoping to find some help actually. Maybe a sprite artist? Yeah, right? That's a good thing to do it, right? If you get people enjoying the game, then yeah. That's what I think, right? In the future, I can see it, right? It's far into the future, but in the future, because making games is becoming easier and easier and easier, right? In the future, there will be a great MMO that is purely free and open source, right? Where it just and I'm talking not the cathedral, but the market design, right? Where it's purely crowdsourced, right? Where people just work on the game and just make their pull requests. And artists just enjoying the game, they make their art and they just put it in the game and there it is, right? Like a modular MMO where there's like zones and the game just builds and builds and builds. That would be the best kind of, like that would be the best way to design an MMO, right? Like in, yeah, that type of MMO. If you just build a tight combat system that is enjoyable and then just having that system, right? Building the system around it. Definitely the best way to build an MMO. Let's see. Blasphemous says, are you really buying all those games? No, I'm not. Those are the list, and I'm gonna filter the list. But those are games that I do want to play in the future. So I don't know. Some of them I'm buying. Maybe I am buying all of them. Maybe I am buying all of them. Because I know in the future I want to play these games. Definitely, yeah. Best Kushi say, yeah, maybe build a community or something, right? If you make a good enough game and manage to get a little luck and get people to play it and enjoy it, that would be great, right? But one can hope, Best Kushi. I'm assuming a lot of people do games like the one you do, and I would assume like most of those games end up just not going anywhere and just get a few players and then... But I mean, as long as you're enjoying making the game, that is what matters, right? You have made it. And that is what matters. And hopefully you can be proud of it. Even though it doesn't end up with a community. But yeah, I'll try it when you feel that it's ready enough to show off. I'm not going to help you because I'm not a sprite artist and I'm not going to help you with the code either, but I'm happy to try it out. Yeah. Blasphemous says, the sale is long, you don't need to buy them right away. Yeah, I don't think I'll buy them today, right? When I'm leaving soon, in a couple of minutes, it's going to be a long day. Yeah. So I'm just going to leave it like that and maybe buy it tomorrow or something. That's Kushi says... Yeah, true. Yeah, right. Well, thanks. No worries at all. Right? Maybe. Right. Highly unlikely. Right. Maybe I'll give some feedback. That's what I'm good at. Giving my hot take. Yeah, I'll give some feedback. My hot take. See of how possible. Like, yeah. If I would like get a job within... working on games, that would probably be my thing that I would be good at, giving feedback. Best Kushi says, oh, that's more than enough. Oh, you say that now, but when you hear the feedback, it's kinda, who is this fucker? What the fuck who does he think he is? Saying this shit about my game? Oh, man. Might be, right? I will be cherry-picking and criticizing. That is what I do. Oh, man. No harm meant, though. But, alright. Thanks for hanging out. The Best Kushi says, I work in game dev. I remember. We've talked before. I remember talking about that. It was some time ago. But I had a good time. Last one says, Cider McNitpicker. Yeah, I'm nitpicking. I'm not cherry picking. I don't think I'm cherry picking. I think I'm nitpicking more than actual cherry picking. I think I'm pretty good at not cherry picking. Well, I'm alright at it. Best Kushi says, people wanting things differently and re-implementing stuff all the time is my job. Oh, nice. Alright, but thanks for hanging out today. I had a good time. Oh, what am I playing tomorrow? I don't know. Something chill tomorrow. Right, I'm done with Double Action Boogaloo. I mean, that was fine. I played for 98 minutes. That was fine. Tomorrow... Let's go from the bottom. Dust. I did play that once, right? 4 hours, but I don't quite remember it and I did not finish it. So I'm gonna try that again. That's a furry game if I've ever seen one. Yeah. Dust and Elysian Tale. Yeah, let's do that. Just go from the bottom. That makes sense. Alright, Best Kushi says ciao. Ciao to you too. Alright. Have a good one. And yeah, thanks for hanging out. See you next time.